Ashley, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you again. Oh my gosh. So, you and I met when we traded interviews a while back, and you're one of the few people that I have continued to have ongoing conversations with and actually got to meet you in person. It
I
was
know.
so
So
fun.
fun. So
You and
fun.
your husband, when you're coming out here to Idaho. Yes, and I just love what you guys are doing. I hosted a few meetings for you at Lion Rock Recovery. That was super fun. I love what you guys are doing. So you are the chief people officer at Lion Rock Recovery and also the Courage to Change podcast host. You and a mother of twin
Hmm.
boys. You are a busy lady.
I am a busy lady.
Are you still doing your MBA?
I am. I graduate in December.
Oh, are
So
you serious?
I'm just beyond excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to send you a present and I know exactly what this is.
I have a feeling something
We're
tells me it'll be a highly decorated object.
We were just talking before the podcast about things that we're obsessed about. You were asking me if I was happy to have left my Silicon Valley job. My response was like, yes, I'm so happy I don't have to deal with some of those people who were really mean to me while I was in corporate high-tech network security sales. Total snooze fest. Actually, network security is actually kind of interesting, but the people that I had to work with, they were like the nerds in high school who now have position and authority, and they just love throwing their weight around. So they were always really rude. So to this day, I have a couple of people in mind that I would love to send them like a bag of dicks. Just not that spiritual. Is that wrong?
Well, and you have to tell everyone you are an avid cookie decorator. So
Girl, do you know that they have small dick cookie cutters?
Oh, I'm not even close to surprised. And honestly, I feel like you, with your skill, you would make something a proctologist might be proud of. So,
girl, veins, hair,
the whole.
I thought about it.
Yeah.
I contemplated it. But then they say restrain a tongue and pen, and I'm assuming
nobody said cookie.
Nobody said cookie.
Frosting.
Man.
no restraint for
frosting.
What is it? Fondant.
Yeah, just a little royal icing on sugar cookies.
Not a big deal.
That's right. That's not offensive. Little teeny, a bag of teeny dicks.
I mean, I feel like you'd receive. I'm trying to picture myself receiving a bag of dicks. I'd laugh.
Oh yeah.
I'd inspect them.
Poison?
Yeah, exactly. And then I would eat them like it was.
I got like Cookie Monster, viciously and aggressively. Violently. I get that.
Yeah.
Thought about it.
Yeah.
It's been a while though. So anyway, I say the angry man's prayer. I wish you all the peace and love and
happiness.
Yeah. Anyway, not going to do that, but I really love the present you gave your husband. What was that for? Was it an anniversary? Valentine's Day.
It was either Valentine's Day or anniversary. And they have these chocolate penises in a box. Yes, I have children, and
white chocolate or
no dark chocolate, black or
Game of Black Dick is what you're saying.
Yeah. And it says it's in a little box and it's really cute and pretty, and you open it and it says eat a dick, and it's a chocolate penis. And took my husband to a really fancy restaurant.
Nice.
And I had rose petals on the table.
So deceptive.
Yeah. And it was like, I have this present for you. And I slid it across the table, and he opens it, and it was everything I want in a marriage, of just like trolling him so hard. And the waiter was laughing. I mean, I was like, oh God, this is
is amazing.
Too good.
See, this is why we're soul twins.
Exactly. I was just like, this is incredibly well, and then Father's Day.
And we're sober people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then I don't know if you ever saw it, but I made a music video for Dak. I don't know if you ever saw this.
I didn't see it.
To the song What a Man.
Oh, dear God. Did you dance?
Oh, did I? And I rewrote the lyrics to like long-term relationship, like what a man to in like.
Is there a link that we can share in the show notes? I know
don't know
everyone.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's one of my finer moves. Yeah. It was pretty amazing. So I'll send it to you.
That's amazing. You know, I tried to dance for my husband one time. I was trying to twerk and he was laughing. He goes, "You look like a dog trying to take a dump."
I've never tried to twerk, and
no, I have no jelly back there. I'm all Mexican girl, half Mexican, half German. I don't think either one of them have. I mean, listen, with the Mexicans, you either have a big ol' ass or none at all. And I'm on the none at all side. So
yeah,
it's hard to tell from the front from the back if I'm standing sideways. Anyway, wow. What a good start to it.
We're serious people.
Yeah. Ooh, we're talking about some serious things today. I don't know how we're going to be serious about this. We're going to be talking about National Online Recovery Day, breaking the stigma. We're also going to be talking about raising kids in recovery. So you're at the beginning of your journey because they're 5. And so they're just starting to sort of become aware, like they're going to start remembering things.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, okay, so this is the part. They're 4.5.
They're 4.5?
Yeah, they'll be 5 in January.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. January 11th. Yeah. Okay. I have menopause, so I can't remember anything, which is problematic. On the bright side, all my favorite movies are new all the time.
It's like 50 first dates. Okay.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to.
Something to look forward to.
New content.
New content quotes. But my kids are at the other end of the spectrum. So Travis just turned 21 and Tyler's 17. He'll be 18 in January 1st. What is their zodiac sign? Are they the same? January 1st? Capricorn. Yep. I have no idea what that means.
I am as well.
Are you?
It means we're very serious and career money focused, but also very loyal and stubborn and like we have a diversity of interests.
Okay. And when does all this kick in?
Birth.
Oh, okay. Maybe he's in some kind of moon, or I don't know how these things work. I don't know. Good to know. I'll keep an eye out for those things. He does have a wide variety of interests, and his career, though, Tyler's anyway, is like music. He's played all kinds of instruments, and so maybe that counts. I don't know.
Yeah.
Good. But yeah, raising kids in recovery is really interesting. So we can dive into that. But before we do that, I want to play the lightning round. Okay. Which is more of a turtle round.
Okay. Turtle round.
Okay. So do you have a favorite quit book? Recovery book? Quit literature?
Quit literature. I'm like
quit lit. Yeah, just trying to be cool, which just doesn't really come off very well.
I'm not my friend, cool.
No, okay. There's some hip girls online. Oh, my favorite quit lit book, and I'm like, ooh, what is that? I thought it was pornography, but no.
So I don't know if this counts as quit lit, but there's a Melody Beattie book. That is a daily reader, but it's like a full paragraph reader, and it's like alcohol and codependence. Most of Melody Beattie stuff is, and I just love this book. And it brings in AA, brings in therapy, brings in codependence, blah 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 blah. And then that would probably be my favorite. I don't know. Is that a quit lit book?
Let's just call it that. I mean, it's really just kind of like, yeah, me too. Same girl.
That's what I grew up on. So
yeah. How long have you been sober?
16 in January.
16 in January.
Well, at 15 this year, and then I'll be 16 in January.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
Yeah. 15, I can count. Yeah, 15.
Yeah. So when you were coming up, there wasn't a whole lot of other things. I would say that the memoirs started, I don't know, when did that start?
I don't remember, but
I remember, so Anna David
during
wrote,
my time.
yeah, I remember Anna David wrote Party Girl, and that was kind of one of the first ones. I remember James Fry wrote A Million Little
Little
Pieces.
Pieces. I remember that. That was the
Yeah,
whole Oprah thing.
yeah, scandalous. I heard he lied
Mm-hmm.
about a lot of that. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know why he
remember
got
that.
into so much trouble. Anyway, whatever. Um, Yeah, but other than that, there wasn't a whole lot. So the big book was kind of it. And Melanie Beattie's funny that you should say that. I attended a private women's group. It wasn't 12 step oriented. It was, everybody was kind of in a 12 step,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a 12 step meeting. And we read a page of Melody Beattie's Daily Reader. I went there every Thursday for 8 years.
Wow. Yeah.
I processed so much with
Yep.
that book. That book was magical for me.
I
I
wonder
love
if
that you
it's the
talked
same
about
one.
that one. Yeah,
It
it's the
must be.
same
Yeah,
one.
same
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
out a long time.
Yeah. 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 I have it next to my bed. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, me too. I love that one. And of course the big book. And you know what's interesting about the big book is I realized it was written in a different language of the
Mm-hmm.
time, right? But I have this ability to sort of interpret as I read. So it was never problematic for me. I think that comes from being super church. Did you grow up in the church?
I went to Sacred Heart Catholic school, but my family is not Catholic. My father is, culturally Jewish. He's Jewish. And I was baptized Episcopalian. So I grew up like going to mass 3 times a week for school, but I wasn't bought in. So I found the big book very hard to read for a long time, but
Oh,
I was desperate enough to be willing to interpret it. And then I was able to. The two wives part, I can't do still to this day. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Like,
I
I
know.
get
It's
it.
so
I totally
cuckoo.
get it. And I get that. I
Yeah.
get why it's there. And I understand it's like important for spouses, and I get all of that, but I just
Yeah.
have no interest in reading it. Like I would go to these big book studies and they would include it in the
Yeah.
first 164. And I was just uninterested.
Yeah. There's a lot of was it hard for you to read because it was so
Oh yeah.
patriarchal, so religious, or
Yes.
what was it about it? Yeah.
Well, because I went to Catholic school, so I studied the Bible
Right.
in
And
school.
that's a lot of interpretation.
It's a lot of interpretation, but Alcoholics Anonymous is very based on Christianity. I mean,
Mhm.
we like to say it's not. I mean, it
It
doesn't have to.
totally is.
Yeah, it doesn't
It
have to be, but
totally is.
if you are educated in any kind of Christianity, you can see it in there.
Yeah.
And so I had a very, very hard time with that, but the treatment centers and the program and the things that I got out of it, the value and the help that I got out of it just was able to rise above that painful
Yeah.
page, that
Yeah.
painful language. And so I was able to just ignore it and um, get sober and have my community and not worry about it, and then
Yeah.
reinterpret it at various stages of recovery but it was not easy. But I was introduced to 12 step 6 years before I got sober. I was like,
Oh, 6 years.
yeah, before my, last sobriety, my final sobriety date,
Right.
I was in and out for a long time. So it reflected in my ability to get sober that was very difficult for me.
Do you think it helped you or hurt you to be exposed to the program so early on when you were young? How old were you? Because you got sober at like 19?
I got sober at 19. My heroin addicted boyfriend took me because he said I had a problem. I was like, wait, what? Um, Took me to an NA meeting, and I drank during the NA meeting because it's Narcotics Anonymous,
NA meeting.
obviously. I wasn't really paying attention at that point. I think it was valuable for me because I got to hear stories I went to meetings in a lot of different places because I went to treatment in a lot of different places. So
How many times
yeah,
you go to treatment?
6 or 7,
Oof.
depending on how you count outpatient and psych wards.
Oh,
Um, but so I went in a lot of different cities, and Salt Lake City, Phoenix, Prescott, Arizona, California, different cities in California. So I got to see a lot of different types of people and hear a lot of different stories. And particularly the young people's Alcoholics Anonymous was just paramount for me. I mean, that saved me. So I think it was good exposure. But I didn't start like, some people, I have friends who grew up in the program, like their parents are sober and they went to meetings. And as kids, before they ever had a problem, that was my experience. Was I was taken there, and the entire time I was being exposed to it, I had a problem.
It was for you.
Yeah, it was for me. It wasn't, it was just like whether or not this was going to work for me, whether or not I was engaged, was I being mandated, all the different things. And eventually I was willing to, the community of 12 steps saved me.
Yeah, that's where it's all at. It's the community. I mean, listen, there's a lot of different factors: higher power, readiness, willingness.
Yeah.
All that stuff. There's a lot of, I think that's why addiction is so complicated, because there's so many factors involved. And that's kind of what leads me back to, there is no one solution. And I think what my saving grace in the 12 step, like in the big book, was that they said that I could define my own God. Like I could throw out all the rules that I had been indoctrinated with, all the dogma. I could throw it all out and find something that made sense to me. Like it needed to make sense to me, and it didn't. Yeah. And so what I was learning in organized religion wasn't making sense to me. So that was kind of my saving grace and my sort of, little entry point to coming back to spirituality, which is very different than religion, honestly. See, I told you this was the turtle,
really turtle round.
We have 4 more questions.
Lightning turtle round.
Lightning turtles. Do you have a go-to mantra or quote that you live by? I mean, I know the podcast name is Courage to Change. That's not really a
go-to mantra.
I mean, mine is like, obviously, one day at a time. Podcast name.
Yeah. One day at a time. Yeah, definitely. That's definitely part of it. I think, I'm trying to think. Give me a sec. One big mantra I have that I have like pop up every day on my phone is, the point is to enjoy it. And, so I did not know, and this sounds so strange, from a person who's even moderately intelligent. But I really thought the point was to work as hard as you can and grind and grind and grind and grind and grind and grind and grind, and then reap all the rewards, whatever those were, and then enjoy that. And it's taken me a while. It's taken me a while to like really figure out that. And when I say figure out, I mean, obviously I understood that like what was going on, but to really internalize, like really feel it here, that the point is to have fun and enjoy my life. And I was always either having fun and enjoying my life or working myself to death to try to achieve. And my sponsor is, she's really into Abraham Hicks. And
really? Oh, I love Abraham Hicks.
Yeah. And so she's spent a lot of time teaching me about like, you are what you think about, and you are your thoughts, and that the point is to have fun and enjoy it and enjoy the process. And so, I am a person who has to remember, I will find myself in situations where all I am doing are obligatory things, all I am doing. And I'm like, just to get to the next thing, whatever that is, the next level, degree, position, company, whatever, stage, phase, blah, blah, blah. And I spend a lot of time bringing myself to, is this enjoyable? Am I spending my time the way I want to spend it? If it's not enjoyable, how do I add enjoyment to it or change the obligation? So, I think you are what you get, what you think about. And the point is to enjoy it.
The point is to enjoy it. That's beautiful. I totally relate to all that workaholism stuff.
Yeah.
And for me, what it ended up being about was just a total self-denial. Like self-betrayal is really what it ended up being, is denying my own feelings, my own, making myself a priority and just grinding it out, And
Yep.
Silicon Valley encourages things like that. Work environments where the position you're in, I'm sure encourages stuff like that. But I love the idea that the point is to enjoy it. And it's so funny. Isn't it ironic? Because we're people that insist on having a good time.
Yeah. And I was I was an overindulger, right? So my addiction, I have friends who their addiction presents itself as restriction, and whether it's food or drugs or sex or human contact or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And my addiction presents itself as indulgence, right? Overindulgence, right? And
I'm sorry. I'm looking at, I just wanted to share this book.
Okay.
Did you hear it? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was looking at my phone because I wanted to share this book with you. It's called Dopamine Nation by Dr. Anna Lemke. She's an MD out of Stanford, and she's a psychiatrist that focuses on, she's an addiction specialist. And this just came out, and it's called Finding Balance in the Age of Indulgence.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. It is so good. And she does talk about different, and this feels like there's two kinds of addictions. There's process addictions, and then there's like substance addictions. Both are equally destructive and life destroying or whatever. But it was so interesting to hear about the mechanics, why we do what we do, because it sort of impersonalizes the addiction piece. It's sort of like, oh, I'm not a piece of shit. I'm not a horrible person. I'm addicted. It's like this culture we have of overindulgence kind of set us up, and those of us that are predisposed kind of fucked.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's a really interesting, I highly recommend it. It's a very pragmatic look at addiction and that overindulgence of the dopamine reward system, and then how you can sort of rewire that, right? It does require a phase of boredom. Did you experience boredom when you first got sober?
I didn't allow that to happen. I don't do very well with boredom.
Switching addictions. Yeah, I didn't either. I became a knowledge junkie.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't do boredom. Like I just don't do it. I avoid it at all costs. And that has been something, but I learned my threshold through doing that, growing a business, having little kids, being sober, getting my MBA. Like I learned what that threshold, that was,
are you saying you hit that threshold?
Yeah, some of that was related to the, like, I'll never be bored. There's always extra time, blah, blah, blah. And let me tell you, hello threshold. Nice to meet you. We have now met face to face. I surrender. Okay.
Man.
So I definitely have had, but I'm that person, right? Like I have to hit a very uncomfortable place in order to have the lesson and grow and whatever. And I'd love to be the person who learns from everybody else's experience, but
I don't think anybody really does.
I don't know. Some people seem to not do it the way I do it.
I don't know. I always liken it to, like, you can explain what an orgasm feels like, but unless you experience it.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. I've never tried to explain that.
Yeah. It's better not to. I can't imagine where that would be appropriate.
Nope, can't either.
Nope. Anyway, moving on. As if I'm embarrassed. Not. Okay. I forgot where I was going with that, but I do have a couple more questions for you. Do you have a regular self-care routine? Like, do you have a certain number of meetings you go to or morning practice?
I try to go to at least one food related and one alcohol or substance related support meeting a week. So I find that to be important for my recovery. And then I try to get 3 days of exercise a week and 3 days of meditation. And sometimes, a lot of the time, the exercise and meditation, I like yoga, so they are combined.
I've been doing I was having a problem submitting to a meditation practice. So I have found that I will do for others what I won't do for myself. So I started a meditation group.
There you go. Yep.
And I've been harassing my clients and sponsors to attend. So there's about, anywhere from 6 to 10 people in the morning to do the meditation.
Love that.
You
gotta, what is it? Like, hack your way into however you get yourself to do it. That's the way to do it. It's, whatever.
Yeah. I think that's like a very common experience with women. I mean, we don't even go to the bathroom together. I mean, we don't go alone. We always go together. So including people and being like, hey, let's do this meditation thing. It started out as a 30-day challenge. And then we all were like, this is kind of working. It's just Monday through Friday, but it gets me 5 days of meditation. And we do the RAIN meditation by Tara Brach. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-mm.
RAIN stands for Recognize, Allow, Investigate, and Nurture. And it's 11 minutes, 31 seconds. It's very fast. But it's a process to resolve shame. And I don't know anybody in recovery who doesn't need a little resolution of guilt and shame. So it's free on YouTube. Magical. Okay. What's one thing you wish you knew when you first got sober?
One thing I wish I knew. I wish I had known that I was not broken because I had cravings or desires to drink. Like, I wasn't one of those people who was struck sober and never wanted to drink again, and the desire just left me and blah, 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 blah. And so I felt like I was doing something wrong. I wasn't working the steps hard enough, or I wasn't, like, I didn't come to believe, or I didn't, whatever it was. And that was just my experience. And I have been able to stay sober a long time in spite of those things. And I think when you hear people over and over and over talk about just like this, the desire to drink left me, you're like, and you're not one of those people. Mm-hmm. You're like, well, maybe I'm not going to stay. Yeah. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I'm not going to stay sober. Maybe. And I wish I had really, and when I say known, I mean like I don't mean like someone had told me, because I'm sure someone did tell me, but like, I wish I had really believed that it was still going to be okay, even if I didn't have that experience.
Has the desire to drink and use left you?
For the most part, but it does come back.
Yeah. And that's okay. People need to know that that's okay. Yeah. And that's totally normal.
Yeah. It's, there's a difference between like having a really strong craving and having the feeling like an urge. Craving is really, the phenomenon of craving comes from actually having a drink, whereas urges and thoughts about using, for me, I go, whenever I think, it would, wow, that looks really nice, or, I'm interested in that, whatever, I say to myself, oh, my brain is seeking relief. This alcohol still represents relief to my brain in its most primitive moments. And so I say, oh, Ashley, or if I'm having using dreams or things like that, I'm like, I must be seeking relief.
Yeah. But what a compassionate response to those thoughts. I think we could all use a little more self-compassion, but I love that. Nobody has ever distinguished craving and having an urge the way you just did. I think that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. What do you do for fun? We were just talking about that. What do you do for fun besides the gifts that you give.
I mean, I do have a lot
The
of fun doing
dancing.
that. The dancing.
You're a prankster. You're so funny.
I am. I am a prankster. I love to have fun.
You're hilarious.
Love to have fun.
I love texting you because you always make me laugh. Always.
I love to go to comedy shows.
Oh.
I love to go to, like, I'm a huge metal fan.
Oh, that's
metal.
right. I forgot you and
Yeah.
Bob, my husband, would be just fine hanging out together.
So I'm like in heaven going to metal shows.
So funny.
So funny. And I love to hike. I love to do yoga. I'm trying to find new things. So this is a new thing. I'm like, what do I want to do that's fun? After kids, I feel like just changes everything. And so after kids, I'm like, okay, so what do I find fun? Because sometimes I feel like, I don't know if you've had this experience where I'm like, oh, I like to do yoga, but I'm actually doing it because it's like on a checklist and it's part of my exercise. So like, even though I do like it, it's in my head, it's not pure joy. It's also an obligation because I have this thing that I have to do, blah, 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 blah. And so I've been trying to work on finding new things that are fun. Like, what do I do that is only pure joy? It has no, like, in my head, it has no productive, no purpose. And so been trying different things. Surfing, which is terrifying to me, is one of the things. My whole family, my kids and my husband do jujitsu, and I've been thinking about maybe they're trying to get me to do it. So things that don't in my head logically fit into, you do this and it counts as exercise, you're killing 8 birds with one stone. I'm trying to get out of that mindset because when I assign any kind of productivity to a task, even if I love it, it still in my brain goes into that productivity check off the box list. And I'm trying to get away from that. So trying to get away from like going out with a friend and having coffee is just, that's joy, or going to a show, just joy. There doesn't need to be a productive thing about it. And so that's my new, the purpose is to enjoy it.
I love that. That's sort of the definition of play. It's activity with no purpose.
I'm not very good at it.
I know.
Unless it's like streaking but see, even when I do funny things, yeah, like when I do ridiculous things, like I have a long history of being like super ridiculous, but I don't know, that was always to like make people laugh or to have, I guess, but it wasn't particularly productive.
Making people laugh. That is very fun.
Yeah.
I love that. That is hilarious. So I had I put together a little course called Sobriety Reset. And one of the things that I have in it is this huge list of activities, because boredom, like when your brain is, you're rewiring your dopamine reward system, which is terribly skewed from, all the drugs and alcohol. Dr. Andrew Huberman from Huberman Lab. He's at Stanford.
I know him.
Do you? Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I love him.
Dear
I'd
Lord.
like to marry him.
Yes. He has tattoos and does jujitsu, and he's a neuroscientist. Oh,
yeah. God. It's like really beyond. It's too much.
Yeah. He's a lot.
Calm down, sir, with your sexiness.
Right. Dear Lord. Oh, I'm in menopause.
Yeah.
I keep reminding myself, oh yeah, I'm married, whatever. Anyway, Bob never listens to this. Did I ever mention that to you? Thank God. His friends do. This might get awkward. Anyway, why was I telling you that? The whole neuroscience thing. Back to recovery. I look at everything through the lens of recovery. And when people are talking about when they first get sober, a lot of people are like terribly bored and they're so afraid that life is going to be boring from there on out. So I was like, okay, I crack my knuckles. I'm like, let me type this out. And I came up with this huge list of activities of all kinds of different things. I should probably put it on my website so people can download it. I had this funny experience with my mom. We walked through Hobby Lobby, and my mom is the cutest thing ever. She's this little Mexican lady. Oh, honey, I don't know how anybody could be bored. She's like us. Like, she's always busy. It's like, there are so many things to do, all kinds of crafty things. So But that is kind of important for people early in recovery to know that we can still have fun just because we're not doing drugs and streaking. Well, I guess you could be sober for that.
Oh, I'm mostly
Is that
sober
true?
for that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it for the lightning round.
I
Good
mean,
God.
that's lightning turtles.
The
Okay.
lightning turtle, the turtle round. But anyway, okay, so we're gonna talk about some serious stuff because you guys have Lion Rock is it exclusively an online recovery organization or is there some in person? It's all online.
Mhm.
And you, girl, you are ahead of the curve. So you've been doing this for over 10 years now, over a decade.
Yeah, 11 years.
That is amazing. And so when COVID hit, it must have tripled your business overnight.
It did.
That
It was
is
very
amazing.
stressful.
Finally, oh my
Yes.
God. They say it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. Damn it, if you didn't show up right on time.
Mm.
That must have been that. What kept, look, I just have to know what kept you going in the darkest of hours.
Different things. Pride, ego, invested money and time,
Yeah.
sheer perseverance and stubbornness, seeing it work for people over and
Yeah.
over and over again, and hearing
Yeah.
stories of, saving lives and that otherwise would not have gotten help.
Yeah.
I mean, so many things.
That's amazing.
It just, each time it was like potentially something different. It's, what it's kind of like? It's kind of like getting sober. If you ask me how I've stayed sober for almost 16 years, I would tell you, like, it depends. Sometimes I stayed sober because there was a really cute boy and he was also sober and he was going to that meeting. And so I was going to that meeting. And while I was there, I happened to stay and
Yeah.
sometimes I stay sober because I didn't want to be a newcomer again. And Lord help me if I was going to give up my time, my ego. And then sometimes I stay sober because being sober was so phenomenal and the rewards and the every time it was kind of like it's been something different. Sometimes there are unhealthy things that have kept me sober, and it's kind of the same thing with Lion Rock. Like, it just depends on what it was at that moment that keeps you through the darkest hours. But, you have to really, on the whole, at the end of the day, you have to really believe in it. And if you don't believe in what you're doing with every fiber of your being, then you can't withstand that shit, because it is so stressful.
So brutal. I know you had some dark moments and there had to be those times when it's interesting that it was different things that kept you going. I'm so glad you did. What you guys are doing is amazing. So I'm super happy. You helped so many people. And so National Online Recovery Day, you had this campaign going. You were telling me a little bit about it before, but I think it's better if you describe it in your own words about breaking stigma.
Sure. So we started a holiday, National Online Recovery Day, which is September 22nd. Last year was our first year, and I got to interview a bunch of celebrities, which was really fun.
That's what that was for. The Gabby
Yeah.
Bernstein, Danny Trejo, and Jodie Sweden.
Yep.
Okay.
So that was last year. Great memory. And this year we're doing a big campaign around stigma. And so the stigma of substance abuse. So it's, the first National Health Awareness Day that's focused on the benefits and advantages of telehealth services. So this year we want to really focus on removing the stigma that's attached with it. And people are wearing purple to show support that they've found freedom in recovery, or they're supporting someone who's in recovery. So people are sharing a picture of themselves wearing purple using the hashtag freedom in recovery and hashtag National Online Recovery Day. If you are supporting someone who's in recovery, you can do hashtag I support someone who's in recovery along with Freedom in Recovery or National Online Recovery Day. And the idea is, to bring awareness to online resources online resources that offer flexibility and effective treatment that's private and accessible, and especially given that the pandemic has changed our habits and our access, and that consumers are able to receive support from the comfort of their homes. But I think for me, one of the biggest things, I could tell you all the data that, the CDC, the 13% of Americans reported they either started using or increased the use of substances in 2020 as a way of coping related stress or emotions around the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So there are other statistics around women and cirrhosis that have gone up 50%, just some crazy statistics. But ultimately, I think the stigma around recovery, I think, is waning, but it's still, it's okay to say you struggle with mental health issues, but substance use disorder, alcoholism, drug addiction, whatever it is, it still carries some shame and stigma. And I think that the more people, we're a part of an anonymous program, which is amazing, but people need to see that functioning, happy, healthy parents that are part of your neighborhood, your society, your PTA, your, bake off, your whatever, that we are a part of your community, and that people who are struggling with substance use disorder today can be one of those people. But if people only know, if you have an active addiction, people tend to know, right? It's pretty hard to hide. And certainly the people close to you, or people see the brown paper bag under the bridge, that kind of thing. So that's the stuff we see with addiction. If we're not showing the other side of it, then that's what people remember. That's what people see. Their shithole uncle who comes over drunk all the time and can't stop drinking and ruins every birthday party. Like, they only see the destruction. And so if we go silent when we are in long-term recovery, we are not helping people understand that there is this psychic change that can happen, and that sobriety can be maintained for a long time, and that we can be valuable members of society. And I know that for me, we talk about parenting and recovery, and I have my husband's in recovery, and I am as well. And so I think about the fact that I don't want the stigma for my kids. I want them to, feel like if they have a problem, it's easier to admit it than it was for me, and than it was for the people before me. And that we are a society that sees this as a brain health issue and not a moral issue. Right. And that is National Online Recovery Day is part of getting the campaign, and the awareness is saying, we're going to step out into the light. Those of us who are willing are going to step out into the light and say, hey, I'm your doctor, I'm your lawyer, I'm your friend, I'm your whatever. I'm your pool guy, I'm your whatever. I am part of your community, and I am in recovery. And it's important that we talk about this, and that the stigma is, eradicated.
Yeah. God, amen. Thank you for saying that. Man, what you just said, the brain health issues, it's not a moral issue. Right. And I think that's what people get really confused about. And it's so funny to me. It's so ass backwards, because when you're drinking and making an ass of yourself, super public, right?
Right.
But
right.
God forbid we tell anybody we're not doing that anymore.
Right.
Why is that shameful? I don't get it. I still don't get it. And I've been in recovery so long that my world is kind of small. Like everybody, like I talked to some people who are like just starting their journey, and they're like, everybody I know drinks. And I'm like, guess what? Nobody I know drinks, because I've just my world has evolved that way. I've just surrounded myself with people who don't drink, and you can absolutely choose that. We have a few family members who drink casually, and it's not a thing. Like, it's not a big deal, but
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a moral issue. And we are in the community, and I definitely recover out loud. I have zero shame about it. So I was going to ask you, you have small kids. And so are you prepared? Like, what have you decided to tell your kids so far? Anything? I mean, they're
So
kind of young. They're probably too young.
you would be amazed. So
Okay.
we were at the beach recently, and I try to answer my husband will like make up like, random answers to things but I try to like really answer questions
Mhm.
for them. And a plane went by with one of those, banners above the beach,
Oh, uh-huh.
and it was an advertisement for alcohol.
Hmm.
And my son asked me, "What is that?" And I said, "Well, those are adult drinks." And he said, "Oh, those are drinks that only you and daddy drink?" And I said, "Well, actually, mommy and daddy don't drink
Smart.
those drinks." And oh no, he said, "Oh, those are drinks that yeah, you and daddy drink." And I said, "Well, I don't drink those." He says, "Oh, only daddy does." And I said, "Actually, mommy and daddy don't drink those drinks, but a lot of people do." And the conversation kind of ended there. But it was the first time that anything related to that has come up. And I thought it was I definitely didn't expect that, because it was a question about, an image in the sky. And then it was a
Mhm.
question about what are those things. And I was like, adult drinks, right? So I'm an adult. So therefore and I could
Yeah.
have just said, yeah, or whatever, right? Like he wouldn't have known the difference. But I felt, um, I really think that it's important to be honest with
Oh,
our
yeah.
kids about this. And what I want to do is follow what the research shows, which is that being open and honest about what the risks are, and just telling them the truth without telling them things that are unnecessary, right? So
Right.
um, I don't need to describe to them what it looks like for their mom to be strung out on heroin in a, dirty basement, right? Like
Right.
that's probably too much. And I don't want to scare them and give them that, that image. But I do think that I do want to say to them at some point, your mom and your dad really struggled with these substances. They got very out of control. They were very fun at first, but they don't work well with our genetics, and they caused us a lot of trouble. And so we've, found a way to come out of that or something like that. And I do think that being honest about that's important, because the reality is, I mean, at least one of them, if not both, they're going to face this. They're going to struggle with this. I can already see that. And I want them to, I don't think that I'm going to be able to stop them, but I want them to have it in the back of their head that, this happened to their parents, that their parents know about it, that they're willing to talk to me about it. And that when and if it starts to get out of control, whatever that looks like for them, it's in the back of their head, like, oh, maybe this is what they were talking about, as opposed to, maybe they'll come back to the rooms or ask for help faster. That's, to
Yeah.
me, I just want them to ask for help, whatever it turns out to be. My hope is they just ask for help as soon as possible. That's my goal, is to
Yeah.
shorten the period of time.
Yeah, definitely. It's, our kids grew up with us having people over at the house for meetings, or like I sponsored a lot of women. So did my husband. Well, he sponsored men, but like people coming to the house, and
Yeah.
they'd be like, well, why are they coming here? We'd explain, we're doing 12 steps, there's some people that don't process alcohol normally,
Right.
drugs or alcohol. And I didn't want my kids to be surprised that drugs and alcohol are fun.
Right.
I heard
That's the big
stories
part.
about, I heard stories about kids going off to college and then being like,
You
oh,
lied to me.
you never told me that this
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So
Exactly. Then they don't believe anything you say.
yeah, then they feel betrayed and they feel lied to, like they can't
Yeah.
trust anything that you tell them.
Yep.
And our position has always been, look, you have both barrels pointed at you.
Yep.
You're genetically predisposed. And I don't know if you will ever cross the line should you choose to start experimenting that there could be a time where you lose the ability to choose and then you're fucked.
Yep.
You might suck a dick. I don't know.
I don't know.
People do weird shit for drugs.
It gets real weird out there. Yeah. I feel like,
I actually did say that to my son, that they were like in high school by then.
That's amazing. I bet that's talk about a dare program. They should have tried that. Scare anybody. I think that
I don't know, it could be an incentive for
some of us it was incentive, but the rest
sounds like a challenge.
Are you saying? I think that that was also part of the dare program, is that like they were like, drugs are bad, you're gonna die immediately once you do them, blah blah blah.
They never
blah.
talked about how much fun it was.
Yeah. And I think that was a huge mistake, because it discounts everything else they're saying, because how can you trust them? Drugs are bad, you're going to die immediately. The first time you snort a line, that's it. What's interesting though, and this is, I don't know if you've addressed this. I do actually would have the conversation with my kids today that today people are dying the first time they snort cocaine because of fentanyl.
Oh my gosh. Right? My nephew has lost 4. He's 26 years old. He's lost 4 of his friends to fentanyl overdose. What the fuck is going on?
And that's also the other piece to it, right? I feel like
so scary. What's happening out there?
I'm like, why can't people just do drugs the way they used to do, whatever. But
you sound old.
I do. Whenever people would come in on oxys, like just strung out on oxys, I'm like, do you know how much acetaminophen is in an oxy? Like how much medicine is in oxy? Like, you're there for the opiate. Go get the opiate. Why are
you quit messing around?
Yeah, I'm like, your liver
amateur.
Your liver's gonna give out. Like, just go get heroin, you dumbass.
You're a liver.
You're just
come
taking
on.
Yeah, like I'm like, for every gram of opiate you're taking, you're also taking some sort of NSAID. Like, stop, just go get heroin.
I had no idea.
But I think that what scares me now is the fact that people, I don't really have an issue with experimentation per se, but what scares me is that experimentation is killing a lot of people in a way that it didn't before. I mean, it was pretty rare. I didn't.
Benign. Yeah.
No one did a line of coke and overdosed. Especially on opiates. No one did a line of coke and overdosed on opiates. Like, that didn't happen. Yeah. People thought they were having a heart attack, maybe, but they didn't. And now they're putting like fentanyl in weed. They're putting fentanyl in coke. They're putting fentanyl in pills. Yeah. They're putting fentanyl in pills. They're putting fentanyl in heroin. But that's the stuff that scares me, because I feel like there was some wiggle room in my generation where you could experiment. It was risky in terms of like getting addicted or things like that, but you could experiment and it wasn't the end of the world for most people.
It wasn't Russian roulette.
Right. Like I mean, it wasn't a good idea, but it wasn't what it is today. And today what scares me is that it really feels like there's no room for people, for young people to experiment, because it is so dangerous and people just
drugs
drop dead because you don't know what's in them. So but I do think it's important to say, hey, this may make you feel better. You may find that your anxiety levels, or you may find that you suddenly feel more relaxed than you've ever felt before, and that you really like that feeling, and acknowledging those things. No one talked to me about that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so I didn't know to look for it.
Yeah. In the Dopamine Nation, she talks about, people become addicted because they're seeking relief from pain,
right?
Not necessarily looking to have a good time.
Right.
Like, there's a big difference between those two motivators.
But the first time you do it, typically
is to have fun.
That's the context with which it's introduced.
Yes.
Right. And then you realize it has these other side effects, and then you use it for that. But the context is usually a good time.
That's a very good point. Yeah. And then it escalates quickly. Yeah. It's a scary world these days. Very scary. Listen, I want to be, I know you got to go in like a few minutes. So, what would, if you have a call to action to people, I actually have a purple shirt that says sobriety on it. So I'm going to take a picture of myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do it.
I will use the hashtags freedom in recovery, National Recovery Day. You said another one that sounded very long. I support someone in recovery.
I love someone in recovery or something.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about the people who are like, I would like to put this up, but if I say hashtag National Online Recovery Day, hashtag freedom in recovery,
they're all not me.
Yeah. They're like, I'm not sure I want to indicate that, so maybe I love someone in recovery or something like that. If you are doing it to, we all know someone in recovery. If you're doing it to support someone in recovery, I think, what I have said is it's really important to me to be able to both have a professional life and career and talk about the fact that I'm in recovery, because that is the space where people don't want to talk about it. They don't want it to impact their ability to have a career, right? That's the scary spot. That's the rub, is that if people know of my past, I won't be able to do X, Y, Z. So stepping into the light, especially if you're someone who's a teacher or a lawyer or some position, some professional position that people don't know, stepping into that light allows more people to understand that we do recover, we can recover, and that also we're beacons of help. People reach out to us. I'm sure you've had this experience where you post on your sober birthday, or you post whatever it is, as you post on National Online Recovery Day, whatever. And people you haven't heard from in 30 years are like, hey, my brother's not doing so well. I couldn't think of anyone else but you to reach out to. Could you help me? Yeah. And you just, people, when you do that, when you step out into the light, people remember, and when they need help, they reach out to you. And that's what's so important about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have had those experiences where people are like, I didn't know anybody else. Like this one, a friend of mine from a long time ago said, I knew you were in recovery and I just always kept you in my back pocket just in case I needed you. And I got the call, and it just, it's going to make me cry. It just, because it's like all that suffering wasn't for nothing.
Yep.
Yes. And I am uniquely qualified to help somebody out of their pain because I was there. Yeah. And that makes me feel like my life has meaning and purpose. Yeah. And I'm just so grateful for those people who trust me. Oh my gosh, you trust me enough to reach out to me, and that that I will take good care of you or your loved one.
Yep.
Absolutely. Will.
And it's important for us too, when our loved ones are struggling, to know like who to reach out to, or when people share that they struggled, they had a child who struggled, they had a mother who struggled, whatever it is, whatever their circumstances, a lot of the times there's nothing said at the moment, but people take note and they reach out when they think of it, right? They reach out when it happens. And so you talking and living out loud, recovering out loud, is more important than most of us really pay attention to. And I think that it's the thing that's going to tip the scales towards it being normalized to get help in the workplace. Like that's a huge deal. In
the workplace, oh my goodness, especially corporate America, they need so much help. People in sales, good God. Yeah. People in the medical profession, so you talk about tipping the scales, and I was introduced to this concept of 51%. It's like we are a lot closer. We don't need 100% to tip the scale. Right. We are so close.
I love that.
Right. Just 51%. Yep. And it applies to other things too. Like I want to be sober just a little bit more than I don't want to be sober.
Yes.
All we need is 51% to tip the scale. And you don't have to be 100%.
With everything, with wanting to stay in the company, with wanting to stay sober, with wanting to, be in the relationship, with wanting to, whatever it is. Like sometimes it's okay that it's just that 1% more that's keeping you around, because it gives you time to figure out where to go. And I love that. I love that too. Cause people are waiting to feel, if you wait to feel 100% committed, like seriously though, like if you're waiting to feel 100% alcoholic, 100% committed, 100% 12-step, 100% spiritual, like forget it. You're never going to get there.
Ain't gonna happen.
It has to be just enough to keep you going.
The rule of 51%. Yeah. And the other thing is, oh God, I had a really good point and it just left me. Fuck. I hate that. Is this a side effect of drugs? Possibly. Or just menopause. I don't know.
Or
anyway, do drugs kids?
I don't know. I think it's a side effect of children.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, lack of sleep is a thing. Anyway, we were talking about the rule of 51%, and it does apply to, I know what it was. If you're waiting to do something until you're not afraid, it's not going to happen. We need to do things afraid. Ooh, wow.
That's what courage is.
That's what courage is. That's a great note to end on, don't you think?
Yes, I do.
That is what courage is.
Yep. Courage is you're afraid, but you do it anyway.
Yes. I think there's a book with that title. Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Amazing book. If you haven't checked it out.
Quit lit. You looked at me. I was like, what?
What? Oh man, I just figured you're young and hip and in the.
I'm not
disappoint
hip.
me. Just kidding.
Sorry, I got
you, girl. You are hella fun. You got that going for you.
Not hip though.
I'm so glad we got a chance to spend some time together and talk about something I love talking about. You're just always a pleasure to hang out with, and we'll get this out before September 22nd. And I hope everybody takes a picture in a purple shirt and uses all the fun hashtags.
Yes, please do. Please post. And I'm just really, really grateful for your time. And I love you and your podcast and all the work you do.
I love you too. Besides, by the way, I'll leave all the links to all the things Line Rock Recovery and your podcast and all that amazing podcast. All right, girlfriend. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Bye.